This week, eclipse season starts, and it's our all-time favorite, Mercury retrograde. Welcome back to the Hella Fluid Collective podcast. I'm your host, Sarah, and I love all things astrology and small business. This week, we are talking about the astrology of March 10th through March 16th. Friendly reminder to sign up for my email newsletter. In there, you will get a month ahead horoscope. You'll get it in a YouTube video link, a podcast link, and my favorite, a blog post where it has everything written down. So if you listen to the YouTube or the podcast and you want to go back regularly and just check out what's going on for that and just check out each little transit going on, it's fabulous for that. And of course, I have my supportive, spicy, and dynamic days at the bottom. So if you're trying to plan an event or plan something, maybe avoid doing it on a spicy day and plan it around a supportive day. Just a nice little planning tool to have. Make sure you subscribe so that you can get notifications for when those month ahead videos come out. All right, let's dive in. The first day that we have an exact transit is Tuesday, March 11th, and that's Mercury conjunct Venus. I love this transit because it brings all the lovely things of Venus, which is harmony, peace, and beauty, into our conversations and our thought patterns. This is a transit that is really about thinking about our relationships. The people that we love to love are really going to be at the top of our mind. They meet up in the sign of Aries, which is all about initiative. So it may bring some sort of new beginnings in terms of the way you're communicating in relationships. Maybe you start talking to somebody new. This is wonderful energy for that. Whenever two planets also form a conjunction, it forms a new cycle for those two planets. So already we're getting new cycle beginnings because they're conjunct, and then that doubles down because they're conjunct in Aries. So lots of fresh start energy around here. But I will note that Venus is retrograding, so it could also be about reviewing the way we've communicated in our relationships in the past, or the way we've processed our relationships as well. Overall, it's a really fabulous energy for spending time with friends and the people that you love. That Aries energy will bring some confidence into those communications as well. As for business owners, this is wonderful energy to work on some marketing content, whether it's imagery or writing. Mercury is all about marketing and communications, and Venus is there to add some beauty into it. So there's some energy for creating some really beautiful content. Next up is Wednesday, March 12th, and that's the Sun conjunct Saturn. Now, this is a transit that can go a few ways. It could be a day where we are feeling really motivated to do the things that are important for us to do, like do the things that we have to do. Take responsibility for things that we have to do. And whether that's like in a form of doing hard things or maybe owning up to something with somebody in a project, there's this big sense of ownership and responsibility. That's all of what Saturn represents, and the Sun being on top of it really brings a lot of life force to those things. At the same time, it could make us feel burdened by our responsibilities, which obviously doesn't feel great, but at the same time, when you feel burdened by it, you might, feel inspired to take some action towards sorting it out, getting it organized so it doesn't feel so heavy, or somehow delegating maybe. Saturn also rules our relationship to discipline. And sometimes that comes in forms of hardships so that we can form a better sense of discipline. Or sometimes it just lights a fire under our ass to, form some better practices and some consistency around the things that we need to do. Now, they do meet up in the sign of Pisces, which brings some compassion into whatever situations may come up for you around these hardships that Saturn might bring. I will say Saturn can kind of be a little depressy, and sometimes Pisces can too, so be noteful. Just take note of if you're falling into some depression vibes. If you are, instead of diving into them, maybe just notice them from as much of a superficial level as you can. I don't know if that makes sense. That's really hard to do when you're deep in it. I get it. I'm a Pisces. However, on a lighter note, this invites us to get more serious and committal towards our long-time goals, but in a way that aligns with our intuition and our dreams. That's that Pisces energy. That's nice. As for business owners, I would use this energy to focus on something that you really want to commit to, because with this, if you're willing to put in the hard work now, there's a big sense of reward later on. That's what this is all about. It's about delayed gratification. I will say whatever you decide to ignore now is going to come and hit pretty hard when the sun forms a square to Saturn in a few months. So, just take note of that. If something comes up, take care of it now. Moving on to Thursday, March 13th, and we have a full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo, and it's a total lunar eclipse. This happens at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. Okay, so full moons are always about letting go because it's full brightness, right? They light up the situation so that we can really see it for what it is. So it illuminates what's going on, which then allows us to have awareness to then understand what we need to let go of, what we can kind of shoo away so that we can continue on this cycle of learning this lesson or theme. The eclipse adds a flavor of accelerated change. Eclipse seasons are a bit chaotic in a way, in the sense that the energy can change really quickly. So I always suggest to people, the more you can loosen your grip with control during eclipse season, the easier it's going to be for you. Which basically just means focus on staying present. Because a full moon is always about our emotions. The moon is always about our emotions. So in order to understand what this energy is here to teach us, we have to stay present with our emotions. When we're thinking about things, that's Mercury, that's our mind, when we're trying to understand what's going on. But when we're just feeling what we're feeling in our body and sitting with it, that's being present. So that's a full moon, that's an eclipse. The Virgo layer of it, Virgo represents practicality. Virgo is known to be rather analytical and therefore somewhat of a perfectionist because it can really see all of the details that make it whole. So there is this concept of letting go of the things that hold us back related to perfectionism. And I know we all do this. We don't start something, we don't release something, we don't do something because we feel it's not perfect yet, or we don't have a complete understanding of it, or we aren't an expert in it. We aren't whatever it is 100%, and so therefore we don't do it at all. That is what we are releasing during this full moon lunar eclipse. We are being asked to show up, to put things out there, to be ourselves, whether we fully know all of the details or not. Because the best way to learn is to show up and figure it out and learn through experience. It's better to show up and make a mistake than to not show up at all. As for business owners, Virgo also rules your health and wellness and your daily routines. And so with that really includes your work, not necessarily your overarching career, but more on a day-to-day basis. What are you doing every day for your work? So is there anything in your daily habits that you could let go of? Like maybe there's something you're doing on a regular basis that's just absolutely draining your energy. Think about maybe cutting that out and making more time for something that fills you up, even if it's just 15 minutes. Or is there something you can add in that, whether it's for work or not, actually gives you a lot of energy so that you can better show up in your day-to-day practice? Virgo is also about getting organized. So is there something you can do to get more organized in your business, or something you can let go of that can then allow you to get more organized? The last day that we have exact transits is Friday, March 14th, and we have two of them. The first one is the sun forming a sextile to Uranus. This is a fun transit, okay? It's It could bring some unexpected changes, but in like a welcome, exciting way. So you may get a sudden urge to go and do something different. I would go with it. Follow your gut, because there could be some really beneficial things that come your way from it. This is also supportive energy for gaining some sort of freedom in regards to how you identify or your sense of purpose. So maybe you put yourself in a different situation than you had before just by going to a new event, going through a new experience, and you see yourself in that experience, you see yourself in that situation, and it shows you, oh, I've never really gotten to express this side of me before, and you might like it. As for business owners, if you work from home, I would suggest maybe going to work from a cafe or going to work somewhere different. Just put yourself in a different situation and see what opportunities come up your way. Or, just do some, if you don't work from home, if you work in an office, see if you can do something to change up the energy a little bit. And it could just bring some excitement to you and your team. Have a little dance party. Later on that evening, we have Mercury stationing retrograde. Obviously a fan favorite. Everyone loves to talk about Mercury retrograde. This is probably because we get 3 of them every year, and it's a pretty personal planet, so we feel it more intensely than the outer planets that retrograde every year as well too. And Mercury rules our short-term travel, so basically our little commutes to work. They rule our technology, so I feel like a lot of us are going to feel that on a regular basis. Oh, and on top of that, it rules our mind. So if we're feeling a little foggy, or if we're miscommunicating things, misunderstanding things, we are going to obviously feel that on a almost minute-to-minute basis. Mercury will be retrograding until April 7th. For a majority of its retrograde, it will be in Aries. I will talk about the day it moves into Pisces in a couple of weeks, but for now, it's in the sign of Aries. So that means we are reflecting on the way we assert ourselves in conversations. We are reflecting on the way we prioritize our thoughts. Lots of the stuff I was thinking about up before, but now we are reviewing. We are returning to these things. We're not starting new cycles. We're not starting new initiatives of them. We may be starting a new initiative of reassessing, but we're not really starting new things, especially with Venus also being retrograde. This is also a transit that's asking us how we align our thoughts with our actions. Meaning, are we thinking things through before we start them? Or, for example, if you often do something, you're like, oh, I knew that this would happen. Why did I do that? That's kind of a sign that maybe there's some misalignment there and that you have the knowledge. You just don't trust yourself with your knowledge. Maybe you're second guessing yourself. Maybe you're putting a lot of people's opinions before yours. So those kind of things might come up during this time. As for business owners, this is a fabulous time for returning to old projects or initiatives that you may have left on the back burner. Aries kind of wants us to do stuff. Mercury retrograde is more about slowing down. So putting those two together, I feel like that will kind of give this energy what it wants. All right, y'all, that's it for this week. I hope you have a beautiful week. Remember that the March ahead forecast is out, so go check that out. And I'll see you next week for another beautiful week of astrology transits. Stay hella fluid. And remember to stay hella fluid, y'all.